Bruh. All right, man. Let dog. This is actually reckless, man. The Lakers has made some great moves, some elite moves, man. Bruh. Dog. Let's talk about the Lakers, man. Let's talk about what they have done. Let's talk about, are they a great contender? People are obviously comparing them versus the Nets. People are saying that they're one of the greatest super teams of all time, especially deep type of super team. Like, it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke, man. They obviously have a one hell of a roster. So let's go into the context, because I give it that context. Let's go straight right into it, boy. So you already know, obviously, through the last couple of days, free agency started on Monday. And, it's just been a bang. It's been a crazy, 72 hours, basically. And, just what elite looks like. The Lakers just have been making noise, hella noise. And, I'm going to talk about, will it, I talked about it previously in my last video about the Lakers, will it work and stuff like that. But, I'm not going to get into so much detail. Actually, I'll try. But, let's just break down what I think of this roster and what I think just overall, you know what I mean? Like, dog, they have LeBron, they have AD, and they have Westbrook. That's already a big three, a dynamic three. And, obviously, again, there's fit issues with those three. And I'm going to talk about it later down the line as I get into the full details of the roster. But, again, just star-studded individual, MVP caliber type of power, type of big name, household name. You got it with those three. Like, you got it with those three. Then when you look at those three, then you add Carmelo. You know what I'm saying? Carmelo obviously, redeemed himself with the Portland Trailblazers and showed you that he could play in a spacing out, catch and shooter type of role, and then still give you a 1-2, off the pick, pull up, post up, mid game, especially with the bench unit and stuff like that. Close games, close quarters, and just, elite ability. And you've seen him shoot it at a proper level, potent level, sometimes a 1-2 struggle, but I already know that's just a rhythm thing, especially with Dame, CJ, then you got Powell, and you know what I mean? Like, just a bunch of guys. So, obviously it's going to be the same thing with the Lakers, but his shooting, the ball might gravitate towards him more, because in Portland they had bare shooters and it was just mainly doubling Dame at the half court and stuff like that, because the elite ability and whatever, and then he's getting it through that. But this one, they'll double, and they'll maybe double Westbrook, pinch off, or but you know what I mean? They'll do that type of stuff, and his shooting is going to be more so of a necessity, and the ball might gravitate towards him because you need shooting. You need to get a shot off, especially when you don't have the greatest shooting in terms of LeBron and Westbrook combined. Even AD as well, too. Like, he'd be like low 30%. So, that's not hella elite. So, the ball might gravitate towards him just by spacing out and, chain reaction, other guys drawing attention. So Carmelo's going to be definitely very vital. Then you look at Trevor Ariza, 3-and-D guy, specialist in terms of both. I don't know how he shot, again, fully last year, but he can hit the open three. You know what I'm saying? And his defense is elite. Obviously, you already know that. Then you got, Wayne Ellington. He's like, his three is way better than his defense, but he's technically a 3-and-D mode. A Joe Harris type of guy, can come off the curls, come off the screens. Like, at least they have one of those type of abilities, because that's going to be needed. Pin downs, all that type of stuff, down screens, and then they switch, get Melo going. Obviously, when they switch, let's say Melo sets a down screen for Wayne Ellington curls around. Sorry about that. Wayne Ellington curls around. And then you got, when he curls, either they switch it, so now Melo has a baby, and you go to the low post on him. Or if they don't switch and they get confused, Wayne Ellington's coming off a curl, and that's a bucket. You know what I'm saying? That's that Joe Harris, but, ability. So, obviously, that's great in itself. You still got THT, right? He's not necessarily a shooter, but he's just a bucket getter, and, he's streaky, has that J.R. Smith type of vibe. You know what I'm saying? That's what he kind of moves like, Jordan Clarkson-ish, but without the shooting like Jordan Clarkson. So, he's going to be potent, especially. And then you got, they still have Dwight Howard, or got back Dwight Howard. Obviously you want that mobile, big, great PNR defense, has mobility to stunt, get back to the big, could switch and guard the guards for, periodically. He does get in foul trouble, but he's athletic, especially in transition, running downhill. He's going to cause mismatches, cause confusion, draw fouls, like you've seen that shit in the bubble, right? So, that's obviously important. Then you got who else do we got here? You got Malik Monk, elite ability. He can come off screens and pull, streaky shooter. He more so actually fits more J.R. Smith more than anybody. But, he can be spot up. He can spot up and catch and shoot. Elite ability. Shot crate, can go for 30 at any moment. You know what I'm saying? He's more so probably very, very similar to Jordan Clarkson in his ability. The double step back or, the escape step back, all that type of stuff. Like elite ability, floater game. You know what I'm saying? Killer, right? Killer, straight killer. Then you got Kendrick Nunn as well. Bro, they have very solid guys, man. You got Kendrick Nunn. And Kendrick Nunn, again, another, off the bench, bucket getter, can get third at any moment, could spot up, could obviously, kill on the one-on-one, kill off the pick and roll, shoot in the gap, shoot in the floater, like elite ability as well, too. So, and he gave up money to do that because he wants to be on the spotlight, kill. He believes in himself, bending himself, kill on the spotlight, and that's going to do wonders for my money individually as opposed to get a pinch deal with the Heat and just killing years, right? As opposed to I could get 1 year, bet on myself, kill, even if it's in a 6-man role, do something great, solid, like a Bobby Portis type, kill. And then eventually now the next contract is going to be a greater contract for, more years. So you play that type of game, right? The long-term game. So that's what he's doing. Even though it seems short-term, it's long-term in the future. So you look at it from that perspective. All those names that I listed, you literally have what? LeBron, Westbrook, Melo, AD, THT, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn. You have 7 guys, right? 7 guys. 7 guys at any point that could get you 30 or 20 at least. 7 guys. I even forgot Ken Bazemore. Supposed to be he's been 3-and-D as well. Not as great from 3, but his defense is solid, but 3-and-D as well too. So, you got a lot of bodies, and Gasol came back as well, who could shoot the 3. And you got a lot of bodies, and I know in the grand scheme or in, especially towards a lot of people, they're saying, okay, they got shooters now. They got shooters. Everybody shot above 40% in those others, except for Kendrick Nunn, 38 or whatever the case is. And all these numbers that man's is reading. But I got my questions. Y'all thought it was all cozy. Now, again, on paper, this could be one of the deepest and greatest super teams of all time in terms of just star or just individual talent, right? Not necessarily star, but individual talent. It's reckless, right? Even their role players, like those are guys that can break out. They could have at any point, you expect them to have a breakout season and just become an all-star, right? Like those, like THT, Malik, Kendrick, like they're of that ilk, right? Similar to like a Devontae Graham type, right? Like they're literally like at any point they could break out and be an all-star in a great year, like, and just change it around. Similar to like what it is, what they are? They're literally similar to like Dinwiddie before he broke out, right? Dinwiddie had bare games, especially with the Pistons, Eden and whatever the case is, until he got to the Nets where it was him and D'Angelo. That's when he broke out. That's like what you're waiting for from Devontae Graham, from the Malik Monks, the THT, the Kendrick Nunns. Like they have that ability, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, man, like you're always thinking, yo, this is great to have as role players, but there's also a problem with that. There's a rhythm issue. And it all depends and comes down to how the Lakers actually utilize their players and how they actually play with system and how they move. That's going to be the real test. That's going to do wonders or going to do damage, right? It's literally a gift or a curse, and it could either be elite or it could actually blow up in your face. And this is where we're waiting to see that. And this is where my questions are. So I'm going to debunk a couple of narratives that obviously people are talking about with the Lakers, right? One, just get this out the way. Obviously, people are talking about, age is, going to be bad for the Lakers and stuff like that. And they have hella older guys. And it could be like the 2004 Lakers and Karl Malone and yada, yada, yada. And, or the Steve Nash and the Kobe Bryant, the White Lakers and this, that, and the third with the Gasol, whatever. And I'm going to just address that. It's not the same era. It's not the same era. It's not the same, basketball game in terms of just, that's why you see older guys could play way longer. CP3 at hella old could get bare money. Like these older guys can get bare money and going to play probably till 40, even past 40. Like you're going to see a new wave. You've seen even Skoll in the European game, hella old, still be able to play. Like the game is different. And what I mean by that is obviously we know the game is different. There's more threes, etc. This, that, and the third, but more spacing, less attrition. You could do load management. You could, at the end of the day, it's about skill, right? You don't have to dunk. Back then, it's like shrink the floor and all this type of stuff. And it's like it's a complete different defensive, physical game. And like, you have bare guys who can't shoot. So like the defense on you is just reckless. Like you trying to score and try to go to work at 37 with ability, step backs and whatever. Like that's going to take a toll on you because they can throw bare mans at you. Now, if you try to double team, the spacing is so elite. I pass like, what I mean? Mans are getting double from half. Like the ability is so different. And the tempo that the game is played on is so different that obviously you have to be in shape. You might get tired faster and stuff like that, but you're not banging bodies. Obviously you're going to bang bodies here and there, but it's a complete different game. It's more like this modern game, this newer era is completely different. So you're going to start seeing, and not only that, when you look at from the medicine standpoint, you look at from the training standpoint, what they focus on, what they practice on, the ability to workouts, like, everything is, evolved, and it's a new evolution, a new wave. So like all these older guys, again, you got the, the vegan diets or, the plant-based, whatever the case is, like they're lighter and more in shape. Like all of this type of stuff plays a huge role into why you're seeing older guys still be able to dominate. Older guys that normally, even like a guy like Patty Mills who's older, still moving athletically. Like, what I mean? Like quick first step, blow-bys, like not hella grounded, like, it's a complete different game, which is why, again, new era in terms of not just on the court, how you play, but again, the medicine, the studies, everything that's into it. Like, what I mean? Like it's different. It's completely different. So, I don't really attribute it and pay attention to the age too much. I just look at the ability on the court, the spacing you provide. Can you catch and shoot? I look at those actual, details of the game and the teams and the roster and how they play. But, other than that, obviously, when we pass that and I debunk that narrative, let's now look at what we're talking about in terms of they have shooters now, they're going to be good. When they say they have shooters, y'all are missing one thing. The spacing is never going to be an issue with the other shooters. The spacing is going to be an issue with the LeBron Westbrook dynamic. That's where the spacing is going to be an issue. Perfect example is what you saw with the Rockets. Harden. Did they actually double him off of the shooters? No, they doubled him off of Westbrook. Left Westbrook wide open and forced him to shoot. It's the same type of dynamic, not just from Westbrook's end. When Westbrook has the ball, they're going to force LeBron to catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, are they potent enough to eat from catching and shooting? There could be three guys around you that are shooting. Let's say LeBron, AD, and Westbrook are in the game. Right? Two other guys could be the supreme, let's say Melo and Wayne Ellington. Let's say snipers. They won't help off them. Though AD's going to have to space out. They'll help off him. Or if they run pick and roll, just sag off. They'll help off of Westbrook and just attack, shrink the floor in the pick and roll and force the corner pass. That's what they'll do. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when you look at it from that perspective, spacing is not the issue from the other guys. Spacing is the issue from the AD, the Westbrook, the LeBron dynamic. That's where the issue is, and that's your main guys. So that's where I'm saying no matter what you do, if you had 10 Clays around you on the roster, there's only going to be 2 of them or 3 of them in at a time. Stay with them. Don't help. Help off the others. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's where it's like people don't understand, like, regular season, versus bad teams, good team, solid team, decent team. It's not going to be, you'll see times of rust, times of, it doesn't work and they clash. But I'm just speaking from this perspective of finals, conference finals, deep playoff rounds where teams are elite, the coaches are elite, high IQ, man's adjust, like they're going to force you to your weakness. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from these regular season games and it looks like the space. You know what I mean? I'm not coming from that perspective. And even the shooters, like they thought that they had before in the other years, look how they shot them. That's why I said the bubble was capped, because the same guys from the bubble didn't shoot the same in the regular season or in the next season. Perfect example is that same bubble before that, 4 months before that, 5 months before that, in the regular season, the Lakers were one of the worst shooting teams. And in the bubble, splashy if you ask me. That's all I'm saying is capped because the depth perception, of the backdrop, how it helps the shooters, all that type of stuff. That's why you hear Tatum. You hear guys like, that guy ain't like that. Like, like you'll see man snapping, like, no crowd, no fans yelling, like it's complete different than you shooting and the backboard is clear. You can see the man holding up the FU sign, right? It's complete different shooting, right? Crowd yelling at you, like the environment, the dynamic, like that's why I said the bubble was capped, because shooters, like you seen AD even was shooting close to 40, 50%. Like every man's going to shoot way better than they normally shoot. So the real gauge of the Lakers, always, they've been a terrible shooting team when you look at it since like LeBron got there and they had their whole new core and new players. They've always been bottom in 3-point shooting. So the problem with this dynamic, again, with the shooters is those three, because you could, and that's the thing people don't take in, is that 80 might go, and the 80 you're thinking you saw in terms of like all the other times he was eating and all that type of stuff is going to be a completely different 80. Like you're going to see a Kevin Love, Chris Bosh looking like 80 at times, because he's going to have to chill in the corner, which is why they out the gate said, yo, 80 has to play the 5 way more, because they need spacing. They can't afford to have Westbrook in the game, LeBron in the game, 80 trying to space out, and then you have Dwight Howard. And like, no. That's why they might even start 80 at the 5, and then you have Melo at the 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to have as much space as possible, but 80 is going to have to space. Even if he runs the pick and roll, like 80 is going to have to space sometimes, right? So you're like, because of the Westbrook dynamic. So then now you're going to see him now a lot of the times not be in a comfortable position, be spotting up more so and shooting, catch and shoot shots. Like, and he's not more of a sniper than the Chris Bosh and K Love. He's not. He's a rhythm player, all elite 3-level scorer. Just let him play, let him be him. That's who he is. And when you look at it, like, come on, man. Like when you look at it from that perspective, like that's the looming cloud. People aren't paying attention. It's going under the radar. The 80 that you're used to seeing might not be the same 80. So people talking about, oh my God, this roster, like players that used to look like this might not look like this. And then another question, which is always, it could be a gift and a curse. It could work or it can't, is the shooters that they claim they have, or the shooters that y'all or everyone's saying that they have. A lot of those shooters are actually scorers masquerading, playing as a shooter. And that's not always a great dynamic. You've seen what happened when they tried to make Jordan Clarkson a shooter with LeBron in Cleveland, Rodney Hood as well. Like, it's different when like they're rhythm players. It's the same thing. You just want to make PG a shooter. Like, he's not going to, it's rhythm. Touch the ball, get different looks. I can do my pull-up. Let me be me mentally. This is a mental thing and a rhythm thing. Feel mental. Has nothing to do with your ability. It's just a feel rhythm. Like these type of things don't get equated and get accounted for in the stat sheet. And these are things that have to be accounted for. It's sometimes tough making scorers be shooters, and that's all they are. Now, when they're forced and you play great defense, now they're forced to shot create, they're going to look bad. They're not going to, their rhythm is off. That's what happened to Kuzma. He's a bucket getter, had to play as a shooter because he could shoot. And then look, does his shooting look like he could shoot? It didn't, because the rhythm is thrown off. And this is what you've seen. That's why when Jordan Clarkson can be himself, his shooting is really shooting, because he doesn't have to only shoot. He could do whatever. And that feel that I can have the green light like that, it means a lot, right? So the only one who's going to probably be shooting outright regardless is probably maybe Ariza and Wayne Ellington, because that's what they do. But all these other guys, that's why you get these scores playing as shooters. They be streaky. Yes, people are looking at their 40% and looking at what they do, but they didn't only do that. That's why their 40% was 40%. Right? 50, 40, 90 like Kyrie. Imagine you just made Kyrie just be a shooter. Is he going to get to the 50, 40, 90? That's why his efficiency. That's why the way he played with KD and the way he played with LeBron, he was just a bucket getter with LeBron, but it's completely different. That's why he wasn't hella streaky with KD, and that's why he had his best career year, because the rhythm, how I play, I can be myself. I could come off screen. I could do whatever. Mans don't step in my way. Mans could do whatever. Mans could spot up. Mans could eat in every different type of dynamics, different type of ways, as opposed to LeBron. The LeBron offense has to get it in this way, and if he doesn't get it in this way, it's harder for him to eat. So you can only eat in your 1-2 ways or your one way, and that's where you see the dynamic change. So it's not, obviously people are gonna take this as, oh, you hater. It's not a hater, man. I like the roster. I like them individually, but again, we've never seen LeBron actually play without the LeBron offense. And this is not a team that you can just run the LeBron offense. You can't even do that with just Westbrook. That Westbrook factor alone just erases the LeBron offense. So at some point, is this the time that LeBron's finally going to get back to his bag, come off pin downs, do one dribble, two dribble pull-ups, go to the post, play off the ball, catch and shoot, hit him with a cut? Like, is he going to finally advance his offense in terms of doing different things? Or is it just going to be still I ball handle? Okay, Westbrook, your turn, and I'm just catching and shooting when I get it. Now we stop. You come set the screen. Like, it's not like I just, you know what I mean? Like, that's the question. And that's where the issue is at hand. That's where it's like, okay, what are we going to get? And that's what we won't ever know until they play. But when they better not, they can't. If they run that same similar offense they've been running with the Lakers, because it's the same coach, remember Vogel, whatever. If they don't change stuff up and completely drastically change it up, then you're going to get like this could go way worse than people even expect it to go. I'm telling you, like you have this, they better adjust properly, and LeBron might have to sacrifice and not be the focal point because that Westbrook dynamic, man, or if Westbrook is not the focal point, like that's the thing. LeBron is the better off-ball player than Westbrook because at least his shooting is better. So LeBron finally has to sacrifice to enable Westbrook, or you're going to still do what you do and then make Westbrook be a spot-up shooter like you made Rondo be a spot-up shooter, and then, you know, they just become a shell of themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like, man's got to pay attention to this. So, you know, obviously, again, they have potential to be the greatest super team of all time in terms of just the deep roster, not the big three, but just everything as a, you know, a whole component and a whole, you know, compilation of players on that roster. But they also have a potential to just be one of the worst, you know, gatherings of all time in terms of talent that just played Fugazi. You never know, right? It could go either way. I don't think it's in the middle. I think it's either it's great or it's anus. That's what I think. So we'll see how that pans out, man. You already know it's True Talks, because True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. You already know. Again, share, like, and subscribe. Click that notification button so you know when I'm here, because I'm here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. You already know. Dog, we're going to still talk about more free agency. I like what the Bulls are doing. You know, the Knicks have done some great things. Charlotte has done a 1-2. There's been a couple teams have been at, you know, been doing some things. So we're going to talk about that again, and even closer to the season. We'll give predictions. We'll do all of that. Obviously, we're still waiting on the Kawhi news, right? What's he going to do? Reggie Jackson, like a lot of this, Kawhi's doing the same shit he did with the Raptors. He's doing it with the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's Kawhi. So you already know. I appreciate y'all. Like I said, again, you already know, man. Dog, so what Elite looks like. Spread the word, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. You already know, man. And I'm out, man.